everybody to Survive and Advance on the Grueling Truth Sports Network. Survive and Advance is brought to you by Replenishing Care, the future of sports medicine. To check it out, their PEMF machine, make sure you go to thegruelingtruth.net, click on the banner. I'm your host for this extravaganza, Mike Goodpaster, and right now, all I know is this: if you're going to have an extravaganza, you got to have a champion, and this man has a ring. Help me welcome to the show, Stave Risley.
Mike, how you doing today?
All right, how you doing, Steve?
I'm always doing good when I'm working with you and talking about sports and welcoming our idiot guests.
Oh, yeah. Speaking of which, when you have an extravaganza, you have to have like a genius host, a national champion co-host, and somebody from freaking
and then
Canada.
A loser.
And somebody from Canada. Yeah, what's right there, Canada, if you look at the definition. I'm not going to go any farther because there might be some Canadian people listening. But help me welcome to the show, Lukas Weese.
Hey, I just celebrated Canada Day, so I'm, being a little, high on my horse, enjoying the country. Yeah,
the UN put a big proclamation out about Canada Day. I saw that one in the newspaper. Canada Day. Yeah, the UN put the big proclamation out. And Canadians aren't losers. They're just they're hosers.
They're hosers.
hey, you hoser. Hey, give me a Maltese. You're a hoser.
Mike and Steve, early July 4th.
Well,
happy
happy
a good day
Canada
for both of you
Day
tomorrow.
To you two. Hey, on Canada Day, what does everybody do? Do you set off fireworks or?
Yes, we do. We do. Lots of fireworks, lots of, food and drink consumed. It's quite the day.
A lot of Labatt's and Molson?
Oh, you know it.
All right, we're going to start the show off with something we usually don't start the show off with, but we do have Stave Risley, and as soon as I get him get a hold of his co-host and put them together, we will have a weekly NASCAR show. And Steve, I know there was a great NASCAR race over the weekend, which we haven't said very often, more like what we saw in the 70s and 80s.
Yeah, it finally, we've talked about this, and we also have a page dedicated. It's called NASCAR and Open Wheel Racing. It's part of the Grueling Truth Network, and if you go into Grueling Truth Network and search it, you can find that page. We are putting up posts, articles, and we do plan to do a live show. Thanks for bringing that up, Mike. I understand NASCAR is not really prominent to everybody, but for those fans out there that enjoy open racing in general, NASCAR is the preeminent form of auto racing in the United States now after the demise of IndyCar when the split came in the mid-'90s between Penske and the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. And they fell out of grace with each other and pretty well lost their entire audience, and now can be seen somewhere right around the Ron Popeil highlight infomercial on NBCSports.com at about 3 in the morning. About the time you can find IndyCar racing right now. But NASCAR has been a sport that actually rose from a small regional thing, for people that don't know, into 1979 on a fateful day when we had a big bad blizzard. And for the first time ever, CBS decides to show the Daytona 500 live in full coverage. Turns out to be epic. Nobody even knows who won the race, unless you read my article. Mike, you know who won the race in 1979?
Richard Petty.
Because you read my article.
No,
but you know what happened at the end of that race?
Jeremiah did. He's the one that has to kind of just correct all the errors.
Edit my work, sure. Yeah.
I watched the race. I was in the same blizzard. We lived like an hour south of you.
Yeah, and the epic battle was the fight that occurred after the race between the Allison brothers and Yarborough. And to make a long story short, that became a moment that moved one sport off one needle and onto another needle and took it to national prominence. Well, since then, the incorporation of sponsorship money, greed, everything comes into the sport, and it starts becoming more corporate. The drivers lose their southern charm, their flair, their panache, their foul language, their fighting, and they just spend the time on TV hawking products rather than cussing each other out like they used to do and fighting in the pits and everything. So sport starts to take a big decline to the point where now it oversaturated itself. You can find NASCAR practice. You can find the NASCAR hauler parades coming in, everything, anything NASCAR. They overindulged in it, basically. So it's taken a big decline. And the racing's become very forced, the competition, because they've restricted it so much that basically the cars all pretty much line up equally. There's no individualism at all. And the racing's just become real forced where they'll throw yellows, just a bunch of people back out, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. But for the first time now, just to make a long story even shorter and get over with it, we had a race on Sunday in Chicago that took you right back to the heyday of NASCAR. It all came down really to the last lap, where a young upstart, Kyle Larson, was leading the race to go, and he's doing it out with the modern-day version of Dale Earnhardt Sr., and they're coming down the last lap, and they're battling for the lead, and Busch is going to try and take him on the outside. Larson runs him into the wall and slows him down a little bit and gets about a car length advantage of it, and then right out there, in true to form of true NASCAR, Busch comes up on his tail end and says, "We ain't having any of that," and basically just wrecks him. Just says, "I'm bumping you from the rear. I'm faster than you. Get out of my way," and comes in and wins the race, spins out Larson, and with a damaged car, his tire went flat right after he crossed the finish line, wins the race. And essentially the feedback from everybody that's involved in NASCAR, that loves and follows it, is just ecstatic that finally we got some of the good old boy rubbing his racing, and racing type stuff going on. So we are getting into this part of the season now where, for those of you that follow it or don't follow it, we're in what's going to be called the playoffs coming up in about 8 races, where the top 16 drivers in points will compete on a single 3-race elimination series each 4 times, get down to the final 4 drivers, and they compete for the championship in the end. There's some big-name teams that have not qualified solidly into the field yet, mainly the Hendricks cars, which are, the likes of Jimmy Johnson, Chase Elliott, the old car used to belong to Dale Earnhardt, and Hendricks has been the prominent team in NASCAR for a long time. They have really not all solidified themselves into the field yet. How NASCAR tends to work is they work off 3 manufacturers, Toyota, Chrysler, or Toyota, Ford, and Chevy, and they try and keep each one happy. So every cyclical, you'll see one brand come up into the race, and racing that year. This year, Ford is dominating. Last 2 years, Ford has been way down. Ford moves over to Stewart-Haas Racing. They are now the team. They've won 5 of the 16 races so far, and Toyota's won the other 5, and Chevy has won maybe 1, and that was Daytona, which is a crapshoot anyway. It doesn't matter what brand you're in, it's whoever's standing at the end of the race. So the sport's picking up steam again a little bit slowly. This is a good start. We're getting into the meaty part of the season. If you are ever going to get interested and want to watch it, now it's a fun time to start watching it, because these guys will go back to rubbing and racing a little bit now. They got kind of a good vibe from this past weekend. They're going to Daytona this Saturday night, which again is a restrictor plate racing, which means everybody's traveling at 200 miles an hour within 2 or 3 inches of each other, and if you blink wrong, you've taken out half the field. And then from there on, it's 6 races into the playoffs, and then we determine the winner. So that's it in NASCAR. What else do you want to know? What questions what kind of question could you come up with, Mike, about NASCAR?
I couldn't come up with any questions about NASCAR, Steve. Lucas probably can't either, because
No?
I don't even know. Lucas, do they have cars in Canada?
Yeah, they have a big IndyCar race.
They
Lucas,
do.
but he wouldn't know.
The Molson. The Molson
IndyCar. Circuit de Jacques Villeneuve. The only track that's not part of an Iditarod race in Canada. The only race in Canada that doesn't involve sled dogs.
We do have worse races.
Steve said something mildly funny there. That's a first. All right, we'll transition.
Yeah. Mike, Mike.
What?
Mike, you know why they don't send doggies to college?
Why?
Because nobody likes a smartass.
I thought they didn't send doggies to college because they usually die by the time they're 12 years old. All right, next up, we got tennis. Wimbledon started this week. See, Lukas from Canada. It took about a 20-second delay before the joke got to him. All right. We got top seed and defending champion Roger Federer began his quest for a record-extending 9th Wimbledon title with a convincing win over Serbian Dusan something or other on Monday. my thing here is this, and this is the thing. When I look at this and I look at the results, I know who Serena Williams is. I know who Roger Federer is. But we got like Stan Wawrinka. I don't know these guys anymore. And if we go back to like 1980, 1984, 4th of July meant Sunday morning you're getting up, you're watching Connors play McEnroe. You're watching McEnroe play Borg. You know, you got Yvonne Lendl thrown in there. This is a sport that reminds me of NASCAR where big corporations, there's a lot of corporate money here, have kind of removed the personalities. I mean, the last big personality that I remember in tennis was probably Andre Agassi.
Yeah, no doubt.
I mean, Andre Agassi was a big talent. I mean, I would argue for the States, Andy Roddick was also another big player. He was a big server. But, I mean, I would argue that tennis right now is in the golden age. I mean, you have Roger Federer with 20 major championships, the most out of any men's tennis player. You got his counterpart, Rafael Nadal from Spain, who has 17 major titles. Djokovic with 12 major championships. So between those guys, you got 49 major titles with 3 guys in the same era.
All right,
and they're not slowing down.
Tell me this. Why does nobody care anymore? I mean, nobody cares in this country. The ratings have gone in a crapper. And the other thing is this. I think you're talking about 3 guys with probably the 3 biggest serves. And I think when you watch tennis in 1980, you'll have rallies where guys are actually moving each other around the court, hitting great shots.
Oh,
and today...
I would disagree.
Okay, so they didn't.
No, I would argue, Mike, that there were more serve and volleyers back in the 90s, like with Pete Sampras.
Yeah, and it was boring. That's what started to kill it.
It was boring. But now with Federer, Nadal, Djokovic, Murray, 2 Canadian rising stars, the games are longer, the rallies are longer, more of a baseline power game, and you also have the great defense from both the players. So this is exciting now than it's ever been.
Oh, you're
and
crazy.
I think it's because
There's nothing exciting. They're just playing tennis.
Lucas, tennis is as boring as it's ever been. I mean, this is the same argument you're going to dribble off. Same argument you're going to dribble on. You're going to sit there and talk about statistics again, like you're probably going to do with the GOAT of basketball here in segment 2 of this show. There's no personality. Sports is entertainment, first off. I mean, you want McEnroe, Connors, Borg. I mean, you want the good versus evil. You want Agassi out there ripping on referees and ripping on ball kids, and I mean that's what made tennis great. That's gone away. Sampras wasn't starting.
There are guys that aren't American. There are guys who are.
Federer hasn't said 10 words on TV. Federer had his biggest speech of all yesterday when he announced he's leaving Nike. He's leaving Nike to go to another clothing company. All right, we're talking over each other. Go ahead. State your case.
You cannot talk over Steve.
No, I mean, but I have to interrupt because I just think it's inaccurate. I think these athletes now, I mean, McEnroe, Connors, they were very excited, and they, undoubtedly had, the antics increase, the level of excitement for the game. I think it's sad to see American men's tennis decline in terms of, there's not really that rising star there. But I think that tennis now, you got Federer and Nadal to be the best rivalry in the sport, and it's because of the great tennis shot making that they do, rather than the
Lucas
versus evil
rivalry. Federer didn't even go play in the French Open because he knows he can't beat Nadal on clay, so he doesn't go play there. What kind of a rivalry is that? If it's a great rivalry, it's like Federer's going to show up and say, "This is my rival. I'm going to beat him. I must break you." He didn't even show up to play.
Well,
okay, that's like Jeff Gordon saying, "Oh hell, it's Daytona, and I can't beat Dale Earnhardt here, so I ain't gonna race in this race. I'm just gonna sit it out." That's horseshit.
And
Okay,
see,
Wow.
tennis is just gone off the face of the earth.
He's getting old, and he wants to rest his body for Wimbledon, where he has a very
Well,
good
it's not a
chance
great
to
rivalry.
win. It is. Well, it is. You know, it is. It's by far been the best
Nadal
rivalry
won.
in the sport.
in the sport now, it's nothing like Borg and McEnroe. Or
McEnroe and
Connors.
McEnroe.
Oh, that's
yeah.
not. That's nonsense.
Yeah.
That's absolutely
nonsense. Hey, wait a second. Let me
For
ask
sure.
you this. Hold on. I the other day I watched a really good movie about Borg and McEnroe. Do you think a movie will be made about Federer and Nadal? No, it won't.
There is.
No.
There is.
No, there
There
isn't.
is.
There's not a movie.
There is.
There's a documentary. There's a difference here. You know, there's an actual
Yeah,
movie
a documentary.
made about McEnroe and Borg. I mean,
Was there a movie
Nadal
made
and
about-
Federer, I have never seen Nadal and Federer go after each other the way that Connors and McEnroe did. I've never seen guys screaming at each other. That's what I want to see.
Because they have a different because it's like Jack Nicklaus and Tom Watson.
No, it's not.
They're
'cause
very
that's golf.
classy
And you
athletes.
know what? The only time golf was big was when Happy Gilmore was winning championships back in the 90s.
Amen.
Oh, that's nuts. That's Tiger Woods. Are you kidding me?
Nobody
Tiger
cared.
Woods rejuvenated the
Lucas.
game, Mike. You're living in a
Lucas.
dream world.
So you
Lucas.
think that Tiger Woods could have beat
Lucas.
Happy Gilmore if Happy didn't have the drinking
Yes.
problem? You're crazy.
Yes, 100%. But
Lucas,
that's
what are you
another
doing right
debate
now?
For another day.
Lucas, what are you doing right now?
I'm talking to you, Steve.
Right now, what are you doing? All right, well, I'm watching Wimbledon on tennis. I've just seen highlights from 18 different courts, and I haven't seen one freaking name that I know playing. I got Wimbledon on right now live.
Tennis is for a niche group of fans who really
Exactly.
follow the
We've
sport.
already spent way too much time on tennis.
Wait a
Let's
second.
Just like
move
NASCAR.
on.
You just
I would
got to the
argue
point.
NASCAR.
You got to the point.
Why
Golf
we
is a
spent too
niche
much time on
sport.
NASCAR?
Like
Except-
NASCAR, I would argue, has a very niche group of fans, and I don't
Hey,
think really
I
NASCAR
agree with you.
is relevant.
The point is this, Lucas. The point is this. In the late 70s through the late 80s, NASCAR was something that more than just the niche people watched. Golf was a sport that more than niche people watched when Tiger Woods was there. And tennis was a sport that all Americans watched when you had
Niche people
McEnroe,
watch.
Connors, and those guys.
Well,
So they made it bigger than a niche sport. There's nothing like that now in either sport.
No. Yeah,
We
I
disagree.
I agree entirely. And here's the thing, Lucas. Here's the deal. Yes, NASCAR is the next sport, and it's my niche. And guess what? I'm a host. So the host gets to talk about what niche sport he wants to talk about. And I'd rather talk about NASCAR than with freaking tennis. Move on.
Well,
See,
and you have every right to.
all right. Hey,
Thank
guys.
you. 1 point. 1 point.
What?
One thing before we take a commercial break. Let's just talk about this real quickly. Mike, I trust you to handle this one. Address the Marcus Cousins signing with the Warriors real quick.
Well, I thought that's what
The
we were
last
doing when we
big free.
came
This was
back.
a big move by the Warriors
All
to pick
right,
him up.
we'll go NBA free agency now then. And I think the Marcus Cousins signing, the thing that blows my mind here is everybody says, well, they're Golden State's stacking their team. They got Cousins for what, $5 million a year. And
$5 million,
when you look
yeah,
at it,
yeah.
When you look at it, nobody was really offering him anything. So people,
No.
and he called Golden State. It wasn't like Golden State pursued him. So if Golden State kicks everybody's ass this year in the NBA, every team here has themselves to blame because every one of them could have called and offered Cousins a big contract. Lucas?
Exactly.
Look, I think the Warriors now have the best five-man roster in basketball, and I think there's no one who's going to beat them.
Steve?
They have 5 All-Stars starting for him next year if Cousins gets healthy. I mean, if he gets healthy and they send him up February, they'll know. But they got 5. I mean, nobody's going to touch Golden State now. I mean, this is a total counter-strike to LeBron coming to Los Angeles and bully for them. They've outplayed Los Angeles because they got LeBron. But there's no doubt that Golden State has fortified themselves every bit as strongly as the Lakers fortified themselves, and they were already at completely different levels to begin with.
Yeah, Golden State didn't need anybody to be the best team.
No, they didn't need anybody. Now, the $10 question is, does Cousins become a liability? Because he basically admitted in his own interview I just read before we got on the air was that he's not ever had a coach in his sporting life where he hasn't got into a verbal assault discussion with. And, so, how's that going to play in Golden State when they've got pretty good chemistry there and a good coach? How's that going to fit into that? That's the $10 question with him. I think talent-wise, I think he's going to be a good fit. The team gives the ball up to each other to win, but personality-wise, what's he going to do? But, that was a total move just to kind of stick it up the Lakers' butt just a little bit, I think.
Yeah, and I think also, does Cousins have injury concerns too?
Yeah, he's on injured right now. They don't know how he's going to come back. They really won't know until like February over the winter. Whether he's going to be able to make it back, it's going to be a while.
All right, Lukas, you still there?
It'll be interesting.
Lukas. Yeah.
We lose Lukas.
We're going to go to a commercial break.
We'll be
back, and our discussion will be the greatest team or the greatest player in NBA history. We'll be back right after these commercial messages.
Replenishing Technologies helps athletes of all levels train, recover, and perform at their absolute best. We do this by offering the PEMF 120, the world's leading pulsed electromagnetic field therapy device. Workouts, injury, and stress cause cells to lose their natural power. PEMF works like a battery charger, helping cells regain the power needed to dump toxins, take in oxygen and nutrients, and repair. 95% of athletes report less pain, increased range of motion, more energy, and they simply feel better after using PEMF 120. If you'd like to count yourself among that group, contact us at www.replenishingtechnologiesinc.com.
All right, guys, we're back on Survive in Advance with myself. It's Mike Goodpaster and Stave Risley. We lost Lukas there, so we're going to give him a call back so he can have his say on the rest of this show. And when I look at this, Steve, I think this could be a huge mistake by Golden State. You there, Lukas? And we may be having the same problem we had the other day. But I think when you look at this, Steve, this could backfire.
I think it could backfire. Yeah, I don't know. Again, it's like you said, Mike, I just didn't see the need for them to get any stronger. They were already the strongest. And they're bringing a potential liability on. And, I don't know. I don't know the rationale. He's going to want to start. He's going to want to play. But I tell you what, if he does come in and he does behave himself, that's a pretty formidable starting five in the NBA right now. It may be lights out for everybody if this happens, but big question.
I think there is a team that could possibly play with these guys, and that's Boston if they're completely healthy. They have a great coach, too.
Yeah. Two of the best coaches in the league, I think, are Kerr and Stevens. So in terms of being able to build their teams around a team concept and build a culture in their organization of, all total focus on winning and not individual, goal setting, more team goal setting. So I think by far they're the two. And I think right now you'd have to look at everybody and say that this is what we're looking at for the NBA Finals for next year is Boston Golden State. Now, I did listen to Fred Rogan, who's the local sportscaster here in Los Angeles. And he brought up a good point. If you look at how the Lakers are doing this right now, they're basically signing all these people to one-year contracts only. And it's really, the mindset out here is that Magic is bringing these people in, basically just train and develop the younger talent that he has. He's going to stick with his younger talent, but he's going to bring these older veterans in and pay them, handsomely for 1 year to give them guidance, give them coaching, give them training, give them know-how and show how to play, and then probably drop and jettison most of them at the end of this first season. And I'm sure this discussion's been had with LeBron and Magic in terms of, let's give them a year, let's develop these kids one more year, and then it's a great young foundation to put around you. And in year two, we're competing with Golden State for dominance in the West. What do you think about that?
Yeah, I do. And with all these guys, I think free agency is going to be huge next year. And I really don't see a way L.A. can compete. Now, the rumor I heard was that Anthony Davis has bought a house in L.A. Now, if you add Anthony Davis to the Lakers, then you may have a team that can beat Golden State.
Yeah, but the question there is, did you buy the house to join the Lakers, or did you buy the house because there's another Kardashian available? So
there's always a Kardashian available.
That was pretty good. You know, like that was good. I like that one.
Yes, it's always good to pat yourself on the back, Steve.
I know. Well, nobody else does.
But yeah, and I think,
I
my question is this. I mean, people talk about the super teams. Maybe it's the way it was built, but the best time I remember in the NBA was in the 1980s, and you had super teams there.
Sure.
Because I'll tell you, when people say that Golden State's got the greatest roster ever put together, I think that's complete BS. I'll take the 86 Lakers or the 87 Lakers, and I'll take the 86 Celtics over them any day.
86 Celtics.
Yeah, 86
no doubt.
Celtics. Hell, the ninth guy on the bench was Bill Walton, who's one of the greatest centers ever played a game.
And then you almost got to throw in what the 90-91 Pistons is being,
not
a good team put together.
88, 89, 89, 90.
88, 89, yeah. But you're not talking about that late run.
Yeah.
Kind of as the Lakers and Celtics were coming down.
The Philadelphia 76ers, when they added Moses Malone in 1983, you had Malone, Dr. J, Julius Erving, Bobby Jones, Maurice Cheeks. Now, the other thing that I find interesting, what's your take on Tyreke Evans, who is supposed to meet with the Pacers on Tuesday?
I think I don't know really what the Pacers are trying to do. I mean, it's been questionable some of the things that they've signed, some of the guys they brought in so far. I really haven't followed the Pacers as closely as I should have, being out here in Los Angeles and caught up in all the Laker hype. I'm not getting a lot of the news and what their mentality is there on the West Coast. I'll defer back to you on that one. What do you think? And I'll probably just agree with you.
Okay. Well, I think that I don't think it's a bad signing. I think it's better than having what could be a cancer, as we've already had this discussion yesterday with, whatever his name is, Lance Stevenson. Since he's not here anymore, I don't know how to bring him up. But, I think he's a secondary playmaker, and I think he's maybe the first guy comes off the bench, shooting guard. He gives Victor Oladipo some help. And when you've got Evans and then you got McDermott, I think Evans and McDermott, I would rather have those two together than Lance Stevenson. Now,
I'm a Lance Stevenson fan, so it's hard for me to – I just like the way the guy plays basketball. I think he's I think he's just fun to watch play. I think when he gets his mind set, Lance plays hard. I've defended him all throughout this whole thing. But for the better of a team, he is probably more reliability than an asset. It'll be interesting to see what LeBron does with him. But, give some thought to this. Bird is still making a lot of the personnel decisions for the Pacers. I mean, he's in on the summer draft, and you've seen him prominently displayed at all the rookie tryouts and free agent tryouts and things when he's been around. So he's offering input and consulting on the very least. I believe I think he's still a minority owner in the Pacers. I think that was part of the deal when he came back, was that he got a small percentage of ownership. I could be wrong on that, but I think. But, Larry doesn't seem to like the star system too much, and always wants to try and bring in guys that he thinks, like Austin Crocier type players, that he think will be a good fit and can play the game with the same versatility of the game himself. And I think there's only one Larry Bird. I mean, I don't think that he's ever going to find another Larry Bird. But I don't know. I don't know if maybe the Pacers, Oladipo definitely is a bona fide star, but I want her to compete if they don't need another star on that team, somebody else big to go to, because you start putting all that weight on Oladipo's shoulders. We saw what happened in the series with Cleveland. I mean, he had a couple bad games. He's just carrying too much weight. I think.
And that's where I think that Tyreke Evans comes in. If you look at Tyreek's numbers from last year, I mean, he averaged 19 points a game. He averaged 5 assists. But the big thing is he shot 40% from field goal, from free throw range. And another big one is we know the Pacers had problems shooting free throws. He's 79% last year. He's 76% for his career. And if you just look at him, he's not a turnover machine like Stevenson was. And I think when you combine Evans with McDermott, Oladipo, you've got some guys that can really shoot the ball.
Yeah, and Holiday I still think Holiday factors into this. I think Holiday's going to get minutes. I think he's going to start. I think he's that good. You know, it's kind of interesting if you looked at it. You know, the Pacers brought in Bryce Alford for their summer team.
Yeah.
So they have Alford, Collison, T.J. Lee, Holiday. Hell, they might as well bring Alford back as a coach. This is just the Pacers just becoming UCLA East.
Number one, Bryce Alford is never going to see an NBA floor. Number two, Steve Alford is a complete and utter failure at coaching basketball. So if he can't do it in college, he's not going to be able to do it in the NBA. He is a really good recruiter. But my guess is he has somebody recruiting for him.
I don't think you have to be as good a coach in the NBA unless you're a Brad Stevens or a Steve Kerr.
Yeah, but you're talking about two guys right there. I mean, Steve Kerr, as you said, is a great coach, and he's won 3 of the last 4 NBA championships.
Right.
So if you want to be able to win a championship, you can't go play against the Golden State Warriors with Nate McMillan as your head coach, no matter who your players are, because they're going to get out-coached.
Right. It was somewhat of a humorous statement, but it's funny the fact that maybe they bring Reggie Miller back to coach. No, why not bring him back to coach the Pacers?
He probably doesn't want to deal with
why not leave?
Coach at 82 games.
He doesn't want to deal with that. Yeah, he's making too much money doing what he's doing now, so he's not going to come back and coach professional basketball. But McMillan's fine. He did a good job. Pacers are a team that's they've elevated themselves just by virtue of the fact that Cleveland's the fall face of the earth. Other teams didn't have the drafting that they wanted to get done. I mean, Celtics are the darlings of that division now, the East. And beyond that. You got to look at Philadelphia, probably the second best team. Toronto still has a lot of talent. And then it's like there's a number of teams that are all in that kind of mid-range that can jump up and make some dent or make an impact. And the Pacers are certainly in the hunt, one of them. They've got a great player. Oladipo is a bona fide superstar in the NBA now. So we'll see. You want to try Lukas one more time and then get into this?
No, we're not going to be able to.
Debate?
He's not going to be able to come up, so we're going to have to put that debate off to later in the week. We have studio issues that are going to get us, too, if we don't get off of here soon. So we're going to wrap this up. Because right in the middle of the show, with the studio, it came up that a new update needed to be installed. And I think this had something to do with the problems we had with Nick last week. On Friday.
Nick.
And today.
Yeah.
So, guys, I want to remind you can come back. You can hear us tomorrow. We'll have all the latest sports news. We'll do the NBA greatest player of all time. I think it's more interesting right now to talk about the greatest team of all time.
I agree with you. I really like the way the NBA is going back to the team concept of the 80s with the Lakers. What we just talked about, all the great teams, and we talked about not great players. There were a lot of great players. But the Celtics, the Lakers, I mean, a lot of teams had great players, but we talked about the great teams, remember? You start, and we got away from that and started talking about the great players and their dominance in the game. And now we're seeing this transition back, and I think this is a really lucky, if not smart, move on the NBA's part. I think it'll draw interest. I mean, as we close out here, I mean, I'm out here in LA, and they've already said basically, based on increase in ticket sales, equipment or uniform, T-shirts, hats, everything, LeBron has basically already paid for his contract to the Lakers.
Yeah, and let's face it, LeBron's contract. I think LeBron is going to L.A. because he's preparing for when his career is over. And the $38.5 million he makes, he's going to make more than that in endorsements in the next year.
Oh, exactly. I mean, yeah. But what he's done for the Lakers, I mean, the StubHubs and the outside ticket brokers have said 63% increase in ticket sales and prices. Prices are up almost double now to get a Lakers ticket. It's going back to all they're talking about now is Showtime has returned. Lakers merchandise is just selling. It's getting off the shelves as fast as they can stock it back on the shelves. I mean, I'm out here. This town, it's all the news is talking about is what LeBron's going to mean impact-wise to Los Angeles. And there's no doubt it's kind of like Disney buying Star Wars. Disney bought Star Wars for $5 billion from Lucas Arts, and they probably paid that $5 billion back for the first two movies that they made. The next two installments of Star Wars, they paid that back and got their money back. Now they own Star Wars, and they're cashed out on it. They broke even. It's all pure profit. And I think that's what the Lakers are going to see with LeBron. And, they are going to they are going to make the playoffs. I think the Lakers will be in the playoffs this year. I don't think they're going to contend. It's in the playoffs, right? They're going to be in the playoffs.
You put Tom Brady on the Cleveland Browns, and they're going to slip into the playoffs.
They're in the playoffs. Exactly. I agree with you 100% there. So I think it's a win-win. I think a lot of these free agencies, the big one to me is really what Golden State just did. I'm really going to watch that one closely and see if that one plays out like they think it's going to play out.
I think it's something that could blow up in their face big time.
I agree. Golden State had a good thing going. If it ain't broke, don't fix it. And I realize you got to keep, turning over and adding as players get older and things. But, man, just the mess of the chemistry that team has right now. I mean, they're winning because they've got such great talent, and they've got the best chemistry in the NBA as well. I mean, and I just think you start bringing malcontents into the team, or potential malcontents, and, Darren may come in and just be fine. He may realize the chance to get a ring, the chance to play on, validate his career, and he may just go along for the ride and contribute as best as his body will let him do at this point in his life. So I hope that's the case, because I like Golden State. They're good for the NBA. And it's just going to be really fun to watch basketball out on the West Coast. I think Boston's going to kind of own the East at this point.
I don't know. I think the Sixers and the Pacers all could have a say there.
Yeah, they're going to have a say. No doubt about that. But I think right now it's pretty clear to say we would say the West is going to have to be won. It's certainly Golden State's to lose, but Houston's not going to lay down. And so we're going to interested what Dallas does. I don't think they're going to be there, but you're going to get to a lot more dogfights in the West than you are in the East. I think in the East it's just Boston's to lose, and they could lose it. Certainly, anybody, we all prove that, but it's theirs to lose, I believe.
All right, Steve. I want to remind everybody you can hear us at noon every day on Survive in Advance on thegruelingtruth.net. You can also go to Spreaker and find us. You can follow us on Twitter at Survive the Magic, or punch in Survive in Advance. You can also follow the Grueling Truth at Grueling Truth. Then we have a Survive in Advance Facebook group, which you can follow. We're pretty much everywhere, Steve. Anything else you want to bring up?
No, I just get Lucas back on. I definitely do the scope basketball thing with the Canadian.
Yeah, we got to find out. I'll call him when we get off here, and we'll find out who he thinks the greatest basketball team of all time is, and then we'll argue that with him, because he's going to go. Right. He's going to go with this Golden State team's my guess, but he's 22.
Yeah, well, I mean, because the GOAT player thing is no brainer. It's Magic. I mean, there's no greater player to play the games.
Larry Bird.
See, it's Magic, and part B of that Magic would be Oscar. Oscar's still the only player in the history of the NBA to average a triple-double.
Wow, for 1 year.
Yeah, so I love Larry Bird. He just didn't do it long enough and didn't elevate his players.
You know what? He didn't elevate his players?
Did.
Really?
Not to the degree. Really? No, it's like saying he got to the 110th floor. Magic just got to the 112th floor.
That's bullshit.
That's all I'm saying. They're both
Wait
skyscrapers
a second.
in the game.
If you look at the Boston Celtics in 1979, they were horrible. In 1980, he came there. They picked up Robert Parrish, who was considered a malcontent and lazy, who became a Hall of Famer playing with Larry Bird. They drafted Danny Ainge, who played Major League Baseball for the Blue Jays, turns into a damn good NBA guard. They picked Dennis Johnson, who everybody thought was done with the Supersonics. They bring him to Boston, and all of a sudden, he ends up being a Hall of Famer also. Everybody thinks Bill Walton's done. He comes to Boston in 1986. He was a big part of that team. I mean, it seems to me like all these guys, Cedric Maxwell never did the stuff he did until he got teamed up with Larry Bird. Magic Johnson and Larry Bird, I think, are very similar. I'm just going to take Larry in a street fight, which means in a game, I'm going to take Larry.
Yeah, and I really can't argue with you to a big degree other than I just tend to, like, you favor Magic or Larry, I tend just to it's a splitting hairs.
Oh, it's the same with me. I think Magic's my number 2 guy.
Yeah, right. And it just flips for me. You know, I don't, and I'm not going to sit there and say Magic won more championships. I don't think that's relevant. I'm not going to say that Larry had a bad back and it cost him not to play as long. I don't think that's relevant. I think when they both were in their prime, they were so close, it just determines whether you like green or you like purple, essentially, is what it really boils down to.
If only one of them was there, one of them would probably have 7 or 8 rings.
Right, exactly. It also depends on what the situation was. If I needed a shot to win a game, I'm going with Bird, no doubt. I am. If I'm at a point where I got to put somebody in the game with 3 seconds to go, I'm down 2 and I got to get a 3. No greater player in the game than Larry Bird. He wouldn't. Did he ever miss one of those shots?
He missed a couple. He missed one in Game 4 of the '87 NBA Finals from the corner, from about 25 feet.
But if I'm trying to stop momentum somewhere and trying to turn things around and get my team picked up, and in a short period of time, like with 2 minutes ago, I'm looking at Magic to get everybody involved and run the court and get the pace picked up and get the hands of the ball with people that are hot. Because I think Magic was a little more willing to give the ball up than Larry was, because Larry thought nobody could do it better than him, which there wasn't anybody that could do it better than him.
Yeah, and this is the thing.
So
Magic had guys.
It's just so close.
Magic had Kareem and James Worthy, who were really good at that.
Right.
He deferred to them because he couldn't shoot the ball as well. He wasn't as great a scorer.
No
he probably
doubt.
Could have been if he
Magic
had
only
to
averaged
be,
what?
But...
Well, yeah, but he didn't have to be, and he fulfilled his role. I just think, it's so close. And you can't ignore Oscar either. I know we played a different era, and he didn't play the competition that Larry and Magic played, but you can't ignore somebody that averages a triple-double for, he's got 181 triple-doubles. Magic's the next closest with 138 in terms of, I looked that up before we got on the air just so I could use that. But, that's pretty stellar for a player of that caliber to be able to do that and average a triple-double for an entire season. So he's a non too, but it's whether you like green or purple between Larry and Magic, I believe. And anybody wants to say it's green just because he scored 40,000 points, I think you're not really looking at the body of work of the game. You're looking at someone's ability to score. And at 7-2, as great of an athlete as Kareem was, I think, he's the best scorer of all time in the NBA. When you needed a sure 2 points, Magic dropped the ball into Kareem. Kareem fired a skyhook. It was the most deadly shots in the game, and they got 2 points. It was almost it was unstoppable. So.
All right, Steve, we're going to wrap it up.
All right. Enjoy the talk. I missed Lukas already.
We'll see if he wants to come have that argument with us tomorrow. All right, guys.
He's still celebrating Canada Day.
Make sure, he got over Molson. He can't even talk now. We had to let him go. Now, studio problem, we apologize to Lukas Weese. We'll have Lukas back on in the near future. Remember, you can hear all of our shows on iHeartRadio, iTunes, TuneIn, Spreaker, Stitcher. Wherever you find sports podcasts, you'll find The Grilling Truth. So, for Lukas Weese, Steve Risley, I'm Mike Goodpaster. You've been listening to The Grilling Truth, where the legends speak.